I have to take care of something, so I want to try to get this in for you guys though. So I will not be doing TikTok, but I am here on YouTube. This is recorded and it will be in the community events. I want to talk a little bit about yesterday. We'll jump into today and the news and etc. So yesterday, if we go into Thursday market open, we were somewhere in here. Like we talked about in the room, we had a lot of up, down, up, down, up, down. It finally broke to the downside. We did find support at that 411.60 or so, which gave us a nice little bump up to the 415.49 just to get instantly rejected. We did slowly bleed in the after hours back up, not bleed, I guess, pump up. And then we had a nice little rejection here. This was actually due, if you go to the 5-minute, you can see it was really a super clear head and shoulders. So these are the patterns that you want to have while market is open, not in the after hours, because this is just literally free money. So far, the interesting things I want to look for today, I'm going to keep this very specific to the SPY, the VIX, and the Dixie. Is that we continue to hold this higher low. And you can see that it did here. If you go into, ignoring kind of the wicks, right? You go into this area here, you can see we had our bump here, and then it actually tried to break it, couldn't break it, and saw that push north. Now, interesting enough, the market data, if you go into the economic calendar, the PCE actually came out pretty neutral, so it actually came out forecasted. So most of this stuff is already priced in. So we had our last, we had our prediction, we had our forecast. That typically comes out neutral. That just means that we kind of stick to the TA and maybe some other things that might move it. But it's not enough to really rock the market because they've already priced that in. So I don't know if that's going to be enough to push us south. You can see that initially the news, it tried to drop us. It found some support on this 21 and actually pushed us back north. And so, the key thing to watch, guys, just like we always do in the room, is going to be this 200 EMA. If we flip above this 200 EMA and we can break above this trend line here with some support, keep in mind this could be a fake, right? You could break above this and then just reject off that trend line. But if we can break above this with any kind of volume, I can see us getting back to retest, yesterday's highs, which is up into the 417.30. However, let me delete that one, I just moved it. However, if we do get that rejection again off of here, I can see just a nice little bounce between the 21 SMA and the 200 EMA today to squeeze the trend line before it breaks. So it may not break right out the gate, right? We might need some time before we actually break it. But we'll see what the market sentiment is. If the market opens up and it doesn't really like it and we start to get some bearish pressure, then we're going to see that pull back and try to find that support again and then just kind of create that squeeze. If we do break below this trend line here, this is almost kind of like somewhat of a bearish pennant if it can break it. And so we'll kind of line that up. If you look at it kind of zooming out, right? At the end of the day, we do have that fall. We have that lower high, higher low. The only thing I don't like about this, and I talk about this from when we talk about the pennants, is that typically a strong pennant is going to have a nose that raises more up. And so what it means is it doesn't mean that it might not still be. It just might mean that this is not our high. This is not our peak. It may actually end up something like this, like that, which would give us a little bit more of a nose that is more pennant-like. And so if that's the case, that would give us actually not having our ceiling yet, so we would actually come back up to this 415.77, something like that, before we have that rejection again. So a lot of moving parts. Again, Friday, if you're up, then for the week, then my suggestion is just study. Sit out today, right? We're going to do some live trading today. CK is actually going to be in there with us too, right out the gate, and so we'll try to get some early bag and get done with the trading as early as possible, and go from there. But so far the news is pretty neutral, so it's just going to be a typical Friday. So let's see how that breaks. You can see that one other inner line, before we get up to something like that, is if you're going to draw a predictive line like this, always draw at least a 2-point line like this. That'll give you an idea like we had earlier, right? If we break this, then you can almost guarantee to ride that ride north like that. I did do the live trader settings. They are out. I will caution you. So for those, I wanted to point this out to you. Those that were in that long that got stuck, you're welcome to ride that out. We in the room trading live, we stopped out of that way early. We saw this the bearish push coming. So that's why I do not have it on my chart. But if you are in it, you can let it ride with this potential push north we may get. But just, no matter what, just know that you got to stop out at some point at the end of today. I would not let this run through the weekend. So, it happens. I haven't had one that's gotten stuck for this deep in some time. So, but it definitely happens. So it's an extremely volatile market right now. Definitely not an easy one to trade or to predict. So again, you got to manage your own risk on that. So if you want to kind of wait and see how the market opens, see how the news is. When the news is neutral like this, it's not necessarily bearish. So at that point, the market starts to consider, hey, maybe we've overshot the mark, assuming that it was going to be bearish, and we need to push this back up, right? Or they may not care that it was neutral and still see that GDP growth as a really bad thing, and that they want to keep dropping it. So going to be an interesting day today, guys. Looking at the VIX, you can see we have topped out here, created that lower high rejection, created another lower high rejection. You can almost draw something like this, and you can almost use the VIX as an inverse trading, which is kind of funny. And this is just going to be, that mark, right? If it does break this trend line, I mean, it's running all the way back to here, and we're dropping. However, if it continues to reject off this and this squeeze, then it's going to drop down to these lower support levels in here, which would give us a nice little push north. So the dollar is just ranging. We had the PCE came out right about here. Originally it pumped, then it dumped, then it's trying to pump again, and now it's trying to dump again. So it's just kind of in the middle. This mark right here, we had this resistance up here. I'm going to lower this one down a little bit because this is really acting as some strong resistance. We just need to try to get back below this 200. If we go to the 1 hour, you can see it's a little bit on a cliff, right? So there's plenty of room for this to fall, to come back down into this range, which would give us that bounce that we need. This line I moved down here was more localized. You can see the one that I had up here was this higher one. So we could probably put one back there just to make sure we have that marked. So I'm not really going to cover BTC. Not a lot of people seem to be trading that. If you want to get some predictions on that, just hit me up. I'll be happy to help. This one's short and sweet, guys. I just wanted to get some insight. Please take a look at the data. You can see on the market insights here that I put out, a lot of the data is still showing fairly bearish. But again, we can be bearish and still bounce to 417. It's possible, right? You can see that there is some potential bullish days starting to come through, but predominantly bearish. But you can see like yesterday actually came out fairly neutral, but it ended up bearish. And then you can see today's contracts are still sort of bearish. All of the parameters are more bearish. Interesting thing is the calculations that came through, the support levels are pretty low. So if we break some key levels, man, that 411 range, if we break that trend line that I had, that bearish pennant, I mean, this could be that target, right? But again, this is where I think we're going to bump our head, 416, 417, if we do get that push north today. This is that key area, 413.50, which we are above. If we stay above that key area, you want to be careful taking that put. Max pains are starting to come down. You can see they were at 430. Right now we're sitting 423s, 420, 424, so they are starting to stretch. Remember, this is real-time data, so the market max pains will adjust because people are either getting stopped out, they're stopping out of fear, they're closing contracts. So as contracts are closed and the new contracts are opened, it's going to adjust these prices. So it gives you a sentiment of how the market's reacting to that. So these are the key areas I wanted to watch here. Again, if you go to the 1 hour, the SMA is a good one to follow as well. We're currently above that. If we stay above that, we got a long way up before we hit that 200 EMA, and we haven't hit the 200 EMA since 430 something, right? So we got plenty of room to bounce. We still have that potential inverse head and shoulder. Let's take a look at how that's looking on the market. I think it's getting a little crazy, but Yeah, I mean it could be sideways, right? This drop right here was a little much for me, but you know, we still could have that shoulder, head, shoulder. If that were to be the case, then this would be your shoulder and this would be your shoulder, right? So your neckline break would be about 414.92. If we break above that, consequently, that will put us above that SMA as well. And then that could give us our run up to that 417. So that is what we'll be watching, guys, and I will see you in the room shortly.